Thank you for joining today's webinar. We're going to be talking about data protection, backup and disaster recovery. So thanks for joining us today. Our new training sessions are going to be quicker, just 20 minutes. If you want to follow along from your office, go to www.icaro.com, go to the What's New page on the right, and you can open up the presentation in the browser. For call clarity, we do listen-only calls. And this is just to cut down on the background noise. If somebody needs to put a call on hold or they're on a cell phone and there's background noise, does cut down on the interaction, but it will make the call more clear. So if you have any questions, email info@icaro.com or call us anytime at 978-692-4200 for help. Our workshop mission is to help you get more from the technology you already have and also introduce you to new technologies you need to know about. Our focus is on helping you grow your business with technology and also how to protect your business. And today's focus is on how to protect your business. One of the reasons we're so focused on data security is mass data security law, HIPAA, other industry regulations require ongoing employee training. So we've revamped our online training to help you meet your training requirements, also get you information that you need and keep you up to date. So why the focus on security? If you just open up the headlines, look at the news, you're going to see all kinds of cybersecurity threats all the time. Target was breached, Yahoo was breached, Home Depot was breached over the past year. Microsoft releases security patches every single month. On the right, you see a red, the red rectangle, and this is something you're hoping to never ever see on your own computer. And that's a screenshot from one of the new ransomware viruses. This one's Tesla Crypt. There's also Crypto Wall, Crypto Locker. This is a new kind of threat that's out there that actually basically takes your files hostage. It's a virus that gets on your system, encrypts your files, and then they ask you to pay money to get your files back. There's actually reports of, even in Massachusetts, 2 police stations that were hit by this who ended up paying the ransom. Very risky business. This is something you want to avoid. But also, if you have a rock-solid backup, you can always revert to a backup. So just keep in mind the threats escalate all the time. There's many different ways to lose your data. There's cybersecurity risks that we just mentioned. There's also lost and stolen equipment. Your office could get broken into. You could lose a laptop. Laptops retain a high value on the black market. A stolen laptop retains about 50% of its value. So they will show up on eBay. Hey, used laptop, great price. That could be somebody's stolen laptop. A user error. I do this quite often. I figure I need to write a letter or a proposal, so I open up another file as a starting document, intend to do a save as to a new name, and accidentally overwrite my old file. You may accidentally delete stuff, move stuff around to folders, not be able to find it. Lots of different ways that you can have user error. Hardware failures. If you think about how a hard drive actually works, spinning at 10,000, 15,000 RPM with really tight physical tolerances, it's a miracle that any hard drive can actually work. So if you look at it from that perspective, you may be very lucky you've never had a hard drive failure. I've personally never had my own hard drive fail, but in our line of work, working with hundreds of local businesses, thousands of desktops, we've seen hard drives crash. They do crash. It's a low probability event, so it probably won't happen, but it could happen to you, and you got to be prepared for it. And then there's site disaster, floods. Recently we had a case of there was an electrical problem. A contractor basically created an issue where it was described as an explosion in the office building, and it took out a lot of equipment. So there's many different things that can happen. You need to consider what you're protecting against. So as you look about this, at Icaro, we love technology. We think about it. We read about it. We love working with it. I'm going to try to refrain from talking about gigabytes, encryption, image virtualization, because that's not what backup is really about. In order to form your strategy, it's really about thinking about what your business needs. So the first thing to walk through is, what are you protecting? Got financial data in your business, line of business data. What do you use? Whether you're a machine shop, accounting firm, law firm, time slips, all the different, QuickBooks for your financial. You have all these different applications with critical data for your business. Customer information, letters, reports, proposals, spreadsheets. Another thing to think about, of all the stuff that you have that you need to protect, some of it may be more important than others. Some of your business some of your stuff might be things, yeah, I really want to hang on to that, but I don't really need it. Other stuff is in the category of, I cannot run my business without this. It's important to understand what you have and know the difference. The next thing to ask, and it sounds like a really simple question, but it's actually not, is, where is your data? So you may have a company policy that says, everybody store your data on the server. And that's a central place, and that's backed up. But in reality, people wind up with stuff kind of all over the place. And we see this all the time. It just sort of evolves. You got files and applications and stuff just about everywhere. And it's really important to think through where it is. Other things, application data, things like QuickBooks, ACT, they don't necessarily write stuff. Your data is not going to be in My Documents. Your application data is going to be elsewhere. You need to understand where that is and make sure you know what you need to back up, and then start thinking through where it is. Now, we can help you find where it is, but in terms of understanding what you need to back up, that's something you need to think through. Do you have hosted applications, folders, network drives, NAS devices? Where is your data? And I think most people will be surprised when they actually go through this thought process. And third, you need to think about cost. So what would be the cost of losing your files? If you actually lost all your data in your business, there's statistics you can read about online, and they're very alarming. This is actually a business destroying event in some cases. If you lose all your data, statistically, your business will be most likely headed to go out of business. But if you step back from that extreme event of not actually losing everything, because of course you want to have that backup in place, but what's the cost of downtime? This is a thing that most people really don't have a handle on. So for example, you could have a robust backup, but it's going to take a long time to recover depending on what strategy you use to back up. So for example, if you had a total server failure, you need to get a new server in-house. Well, there's some hardware that you can get overnight. You can get it overnighted, but you're going to be restricted as to what you can get, and then you have to start reloading your applications one by one. You could easily be down a whole week. So what's your cost to be down, for an hour? Your lost revenue, your lost productivity. The other thing to think through is what compliance regulations are important in your industry. This is important to know. What do you need to retain that your industry requires? So to summarize, forming your backup strategy is not about technology as much as we love technology at eCaro. It's really about understanding the importance of data in your business and the impact of not having access to it. So what are you protecting? Where is it? And really, truly understanding the cost of losing data. If you lose your data, a lot of people are really over-optimistic in their expectations how fast it is to recover data. Lost data, lost revenue, lost productivity, cost to recover. You got to think through all of these things. If a hard drive winds up needing to go out to a lab for recovery, you're looking at $2,000, $5,000. And I've seen prices higher than that, depending if you actually needed the data back fast. If it has to go to a lab, that's extremely expensive. So that's something you want to avoid. All right, so when you get a handle on all that, you ask yourself the question, so what can you do? So top of the list is prevention. But it's important to understand that no matter how much you do to prevent problems, there is no such thing as 100%. There is no security product that can protect you 100%. So that's why backup is your most important form of protection, because that's what you're going to rely on. If you're unlucky enough, and it happens, equipment failures, site catastrophe, human error, whatever it is, data does get lost, and it's your backup that you're going to rely on. So your backup is going to save you or not. So in terms of prevention, think about layers. Talk about perimeter security. We strongly recommend that any business has a business class router. We put on a gateway security on there. We want to see strong passwords. Sometimes a lot of viruses can attack a system through, just getting through no password or a weak password. Antivirus, anti-malware updates, security patch updates. I know people who get our newsletters are probably completely bored by how many updates we send on patches, but it's critically important. You have physical security, you want to think about encryption, all these different layers, you need to be doing them all. But when it comes to protection, it's your backup that you're going to rely on because there is no such thing as 100% prevention for data loss. So moving along, now we can start thinking about, well, what are your options for technologies? I'm going to go through a couple of slides of kind of A or B and kind of explain the difference. And sometimes, because we're so into technology, we might jump in and say, oh, here's the best way, this is what you should be doing for backup. And people will look at, well, why? And so what I want to walk through is understand your business requirements and then start thinking of each of your options kind of on it's like a decision tree, A or B. And what you're weighing against is basically your cost of downtime. So file and folder, that's the most simple way of doing backup. You're saving files. This is the stuff, your files are the things you cannot reproduce. An image is a different strategy of doing a backup. That's basically taking a picture of your whole system. And where that helps you is in recovery time. So for example, when I gave the example before about the server that dies, you got to install all the applications one by one, customize everything. That's a very lengthy process. You're probably optimistically looking at being down for a week. Now, if you're a solo person and you can take a couple of days off, that may not be a big deal. If you're running a business with 20 employees and you're going to lose revenue and lose all that productivity, then it's a really big deal to be down for a week. Kind of the next A-B choice is local versus offsite, and you can do both. Local's great, fast recovery, everything's over the local network, it's right there when you need it. It does not protect you against a site catastrophe. So if you were to have a flood or some other disaster in your building, if that backup is in the same place as your data, if it's all in one location, you're going to lose it all. So that's something extremely important to think about. The next kind of decision point is manual or automatic. And we meet a lot of people. We basically have recommendations for best practices. We have a list of best practices over 10 plus years of experience working with hundreds of businesses, thousands of systems. We have a set of best practices that we recommend. We also support just about everything under the sun that's out there. So some folks are actually really diligent about running their backup. They might run it manually, take the drives off site, they're swapping them out, but most people are just not going to be that diligent. And that's why we recommend an automatic backup. It's basically set it, forget it. You have a schedule that it runs, and it runs. Now, while that backup is running, kind of the next decision point to make is unmanaged versus managed and verified. And what this means is that you may set up a backup. Hey, I'm going to run my backup. It's going to run. It's going to run every hour, it's going to run every night, it's going to run every 2 days, whatever it is. If it's unmanaged, basically you don't know if it actually ran. It's supposed to run. And we have a big sign up in our office that says it should work, and then it has a big red slash through it. Because things in technology are so complex, there's so many interdependencies, so many moving parts, it just doesn't work like that. And I remember meeting a woman who was unfortunate and had her house broken into, laptop was stolen, and she says, well, thank goodness I've got my backup. She had a backup to a hard drive It turns out she didn't know it, but the backup hadn't run in over a year. And there was no backup. She didn't know it. She thought, well, it's plugged in, it must be working. So for manage, what that means is that we're looking at it's being actively monitored. So for our managed backups, and again, if it's unmanaged versus managed and verified, some folks come to us and say, look, I don't want to pay a monthly fee. I don't have that budget. And I'm going to manually check this I'm going to take responsibility and check it. For the managed backups that we run, we're constantly getting alerts of maybe a backup was incomplete. There's a lot of stuff we remediate behind the scenes. The other thing is on verification, it's verifying that the data is good. It's especially important for an image backup. So kind of, before on automation, I said set it and forget it to a point. Really the best practice is running a managed and verified backup. So at this point, we gave you a lot of choices on each step of the way, and kind of the more you do, the better protection you have. It does drive up costs. It all boils back to understanding what the cost of downtime is in your business. You really have to have a handle on that. And when you apply the technology, the choices can be overwhelming. So the starting point is any backup is better than no backup. And this is, you can copy files to a hard drive or CD. Keep in mind, if you use portable media like that, you do have to, if you back up any protected information, those portable devices have to be encrypted by law. Just keep that in mind. Some folks use a network attached storage. If you're, look, I don't want to pay a monthly storage fee in the cloud. I'm going to just buy this thing once and I have no monthly fee, which is a trade-off that you can make. Again, it's local. You're not protected for a site catastrophe in that case. And then there's the cloud. We get a lot of questions about the cloud because it sounds so mystical. All that really means is that your data is on a server somewhere else, not in your building. It's not in the ether. It is on a physical server with hard drives, just somewhere else, and you connect to it over the internet. So many, many, many choices. It can be overwhelming. So as you make decisions, we made a chart here of good and better. So under good, file and folder, image is better. For local is good, offsite is better, manual is good, automatic is better, and unmanaged is good, managed and verified is better. So when we talk to our clients about what our recommendations are, this is what we take into consideration. And this is also going to impact costs, again, weighing against what your business requires. This is sort of what we do for our customers who really have high needs to protect themselves against downtime. We put in full a business disaster recovery system we call it the Vault, but basically the server and desktops as well, if that's, we can do those as well. Everything is imaged onto a Vault. And what that does is, if the server were to die, we have an image and file and folder backup. It's local. It also replicates to the cloud, so you're protected for a site catastrophe as well. It's fully automated. It's fully monitored. It's verified. There's software running all the time to verify that the actual backup is good. So it's not just saying that the backup ran, it's actually verifying that it's good. And that Vault can then be run as a virtual server. So this is meaning, so on that site where we had an electrical problem, they were up and running, you could be up and running within an hour or even less, depending on what the circumstances are, because it's a full virtual image of your system right in place. So this is kind of puts all the things from the better column in place, and you want to consider if that's what your business needs. There are 100 different ways that you can back up, but we want folks to know what's possible. All right, so things to think about. What data are you protecting? Where is your data? And this is something to really think through, because over the years we've seen this a lot. Your data, it's not all that obvious where your data is, and things just sort of evolve over time? And then what exactly is the cost of downtime? And understanding the cost of the downtime and relating that to the recovery time of various backups. So if you did the most simple file and folder backup, and you were diligent about taking it off site, you'd still have to completely reload your hardware. So this is the kind of thing you want to think about. It's that recovery time that's really important. So kind of putting it all together, it's the business needs that drive the technology choice. So I think, again, go through this exercise in your business to really understand, the what, where, and the cost, and then kind of map that against what the different, the good or the better choices are for the backup, and then you'll be able to come up with what fits your business. All right, I want to thank you for joining us. We have lots of information, lots of training information on our blog. We're also on Twitter, where we post a lot of technology news. Facebook, if you like to get updates through Facebook. And then we post a lot of training on YouTube as well. So send us your questions, and we love to hear from you. We use those, kind of the how-tos, or how does this, how do I solve this problem? We use those for our blog. We love getting them. And please call us anytime with questions. 978-692-4200. And thanks for joining us today.